This is All India Radio. Radioscope, the National Science Magazine program.
Good evening and welcome to the latest edition of National Science Magazine Radioscope. Dear listeners, science and technology serve as the engine of development of a country and an engine of change for society. There is a direct correlation between the development of a country and its practice of science and technology. Recent advances in science and technology and a large number of scientists with a wide spectrum of skills dedicated to new and innovative developments have given great hope for the alleviation of hunger, poverty, malnutrition, unemployment and unhealthy living conditions in the teeming millions of developing worlds. A productive life and a quality life for all, irrespective of developed or developing country, is a rightful demand of this science and information and communications technology century. In today's edition of Radioscope, we will take you through varied topics which include the information on conservation of coral reefs, National Science Day, and interviews with a renowned doctor and a scientist who will throw light on the facts about World Cancer Day and India's Antarctic research, respectively. Apart from these, we will also have regular columns in which we will get information about new science researches and know which great scientists were born in February. So, let's begin with news highlights in science and technology.
Hi there, I'm Swetlana with the latest science news. 8th India International Science Festival 2023 was held at Maulana Azad National Institute of Technology, Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh from 21st to 24th January 2023. The theme of Science Festival was Marching Towards Amrit Kal with Science, Technology and Innovation. Scientists, technologists, policymakers, artisans, startups, farmers, researchers, students and innovators from India and abroad had gathered at the festival popularly known as Vigyan Mahakumbh. A team of researchers from the Goa-based National Center for Polar and Ocean Research has carried out a very interesting study about the Indian Ocean deep water circulations. The scientists have generated an autogenic neodymium isotope record from the Arabian Sea and reconstructed the deep water circulation record of the Indian Ocean for the period from 11.3 million years ago, Miocene era, to 1.98 million years ago, Pleistocene era. The record shows a clear shift from the Pacific water-dominated deep circulation system before about 9 million years ago to the onset of a modern-like deep water circulation system in the Indian Ocean. Published in the journal Nature Communication, study suggests a widespread impact of the late Miocene Central American seaway closure on the evolution of ocean deep water circulation and validates the so-called Panama closure hypothesis. And finally, a study led by researchers at the University of California, San Francisco, published in the Journal of Adolescent Health, reveals that the use of screens during the holiday season may have negative effect on children's mental health. The study shows that for preteens, the risk of developing obsessive compulsive disorder, that is OCD, over a 2-year period increases by 15% for every hour spent playing video games and by 11% for every hour spent watching videos. OCD is a mental health condition involving recurrent and unwanted thoughts as well as repetitive behaviors that a person feels driven to perform. These intrusive thoughts and behaviors can become severely disabling for the sufferers and those close to them. So, listeners, those were the science news highlights in this edition.
Well, listeners, we hope you enjoyed those science tidbits. Let us now remember the scientists who were born in the month of February. World's famous naturalist, geologist, and biologist, widely known for his contributions to evolutionary biology, Charles Darwin was born on 12th February 1809. In 1564, on the 15th of February was born an avid astronomer, an engineer, a scientist, and a genius Italian mathematician, Galileo Galilei. And finally, father of Indian research laboratories, a scientific administrator, and a colloid scientist, Dr. Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar was born on 21st February 1894. Listeners, we now move on to the field of oceanography. Dr. Manikandan Balakrishnan, scientist from National Institute of Oceanography, NIO, Goa, speaks about the conservation of coral reefs.
Coral reefs, they cover just less than 0.1% of the ocean floor. But so far, the coral reefs are home to almost 25% of the marine organisms that has been discovered so far. So in short, coral reefs are the shelter for many marine organisms. They are also the breeding and feeding grounds for many of the commercially important fisheries. Coral reefs, they can act as a wall along the shoreline, and they can actually protect your shorelines from erosion and high energy waves, storms and cyclones. Coral reefs also, they are the source of life-saving drugs. All over, many scientists, they are hunting for life-saving drugs, especially the ones which can treat cancer, HIV. But you see, recently, because of this climate change, especially the stress that are associated with climate change, like increase in the ocean temperature, decrease in the pH of the oceans, and other anthropogenic stressors, storms, cyclones. So all these are harming the corals. And in recent years, the coral reefs are known to be declining very drastically because of the synergistic impacts of both climate change and anthropogenic impacts. So when I say anthropogenic impacts, it is actually the impacts caused by the humans, either a mechanical damage or in terms of pollution, in terms of boat activities, unregulated tourism, carelessness while boating, diving, so all that kind of activities. Each and every one of us has to take the responsibility to protect the corals and protect these valuable ecosystems. So what we can do is that, first of all, we must be aware about what are the laws pertaining to the conservation of corals. So in India, we have Wildlife Protection Act, which is like scheduled at the year 1972. So under the Wildlife Protection Act, corals are listed under the Schedule 1 list of organisms. So this Schedule 1 list, which means that offering a very high level of protection so that anybody who is like hunting the corals or removing the corals from the water, possessing either the live portion or the dead portion of the coral, either as a whole coral or even a small part of it, is a crime that can be lead to imprisonment. But as a responsible citizen of this country, we should also engage in the conservation activities. So whenever you get a chance to dive in a coral reef, be responsibly and take utmost care not to touch the corals or not to break the corals. And whenever you are doing any recreational activities, that is boating in the coral reef area and all, please be aware that anchoring should not be done on the coral reef area, because anchoring can mechanically damage the corals and they can break them into pieces. So let us all be responsible. Let us be aware about the coral reefs and their importance to the society, and let us all play a role together towards protecting it.
That was Dr. Manikandan Balakrishnan, scientist from National Institute of Oceanography, Goa, enlightening us about the conservation of coral reefs. World Cancer Day is observed worldwide on February 4th. The aim is to inform and encourage people on its prevention, early detection and treatment. Let us now understand the importance of World Cancer Day. Dr. Shekhar Salkar, renowned oncologist of Goa, is with us, and in conversation with him is Alfie Silveira.
Sickness and disease are a part of human life, and there's nothing much we can do about experiencing these sicknesses. But as far as creating awareness, there's a lot that can be done. Every year, the world is reminded that on 4th February is World Cancer Day. Here in Goa, we had a very special guest who shed light based on his 30 years of experience as an onco-surgeon. He is the chief of the Oncology department at the Manipal hospital here in Goa. It's a privilege and an honor to welcome Dr. Shekhar Salkar.
Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to our studios here at All India Radio.
Yes.
Doctor, is there a theme every year, and what is it for this coming year?
World Cancer Day is actually a theme which is given by UICC. UICC is Union of International Cancer Control. It's a big institution. It's the topmost institution in the world, which takes care of all types of cancers. Means what awareness and how it can improve the quality of life of the patient. This year's theme is uniting our voices and taking action, which is important.
Yes,
we can unite the voice, and you don't take action, just sit on that, and has no meaning.
Now, what are these different voices, doctor?
The most important voice is of the patient. Absolutely. We have to hear the patient. What is best for him? You have to have patient as a center. See, whatever you do, well-being of the patient is important. You may treat the patient, and in the end, patient is a bedridden. Nothing you can do to leave himself.
Correct.
He cannot earn money. Then that treatment doesn't have that sense of that patient will not love that treatment.
Correct.
But suppose you give him a good treatment, which he continues to earn for his family.
Okay.
And he lives a reasonably good life. Then he would welcome that.
Correct.
So his voice has to be heard, that he needs to know about the disease. Sometimes what happens, the doctors are so busy, they don't tell him what are the outcomes of this.
Yes.
What are the side effects of this medicine? What are the side effects of those medicines?
Correct.
Hair loss, you are going to have a hair loss. If you don't tell a lady that you are going to have a hair loss, and suddenly after chemotherapy she finds that she is bald, then she may have a psychological problem for this.
Very true.
So hearing their voices, what they want, what is their occupation, how this treatment of ours can modify he's going to modify himself, his job,
yes,
or something, also has to be looked into the matter.
Absolutely.
So his voice is the most important voice. He is the center of our all treatment. It has to be heard. Second is the voice of the doctors who treat them.
Yes.
Because they have their own problems. Because some of the doctors have a problem in how to communicate with the patients. To tell him the truth, not tell him the truth, how much truth to be told. And sometimes you tell truth to his relatives, they don't pass on that things to other relatives. Then they feel that I am not told. And the patient himself sometimes wants to know also. So
That's
if you
important.
consider me as a doctor, what I do is that I have always asked that patient that, are you a decision making in the family? That means you are earning.
Yes.
You have to make all the decisions in the family. Then you need to know what is going to happen to you.
Very much.
This is important.
Absolutely.
Suppose you are not going to be the decision making, like some
could be the
housewife
spouse.
is there, and
Yes.
the children are there who are not, going to make decision of
Correct.
these financial decisions or future decisions. Then you don't have to tell everything to them, that your prognosis is not good and you are not going to live for so much of time, you are going to live only for this much time. This there is no need, because that needs decreases your fighting power. Because you get depressed little bit, and then you find it difficult to digest all these things.
Very true.
But one who is decision making in the family, he has to make a decision. Suppose he is going to live for next 3 months only. He's a very advanced case. Then I need to tell him, Baba, your life is very much curtailed. I don't tell him that you'll live for 3 months, but your life is curtailed. You don't have much time. We don't know how much time it is. So you need to settle your all other things in the life. Then we start something on treatment only. Because there are people who have not made their wills, his money is lying somewhere else, which mother doesn't know, the children don't know, and suddenly he does that treatment, expires, then the family also is suffering in the bargain. So this is problem. So doctors have got their own voice, they want to do that. Then NGOs are there who he wants to fight for that patient's right, but nobody listens to them. But we have in Goa, we have a Muskan group,
yes,
which they, bring all these patients together, have their talks. They need some financial support. The government should make some arrangements that they get yearly some grants. So their voice also is heard. So that they are benefiting in the end patient only. All
Correct.
these voices will help the benefit. Previously, we used to think that more you remove, like Halstead was the biggest surgeon. He used to remove the full breast, axilla, full for the cancer of the breast. It may be in a small tumor or a big tumor, remove everything.
Okay.
Then patient is to get a huge hand lymphedema, and lifetime she is to suffer.
Swelling.
She may be cured of the cancer, but the suffering is continuous for her.
Okay.
So now with the better and better treatment, we are understanding the biology of the disease.
Right.
In the end, now we have realized that histopathological biopsy and the IHC markers and all those things, subgrouping which they do, is the important thing in treatment.
You started your journey 30 years ago, and these terms perhaps were not there.
Not there at all. Not
exactly.
at all. Actually, when I was leaving that time, this started coming. I joined Tata Hospital in 1984 and I left in 1990. That time, that breast conservation surgery was initiated. I did 1 or 2 there. And then it gave me confidence that I can do it here also. And first, radiation has improved tremendously from that cobalt old things.
True.
Now there are LINAC and better medicine available, which less side effects to the patient.
Correct.
Her lungs are saved in the cancer of the breast. Her heart is saved. So, you can really give only 1 millimeter distance, 1-2 millimeter distance, so that long-term complications.
Yes. So targeted
radiation is there. We can decrease brain surgery, stereotact, SCBRT and all. There are a lot of things have developed in radiation.
Okay.
Chemotherapy also has developed too much. So I remember when I started my practice, cost is higher, that is there, but
True.
the cost comes down over a period of time. When I started in around 90 practice here, chemotherapy that time, simple CMF is to give for breast cancer. It was costing around 750 rupees.
I see.
That also people were not affording. Now I tell them it will cost you 10,000, 15,000, it's okay with them.
Yes.
So the
economics
financial,
have,
this also has increased.
Correct.
Better drugs have come.
Right.
And now better means if you continue like this, there is huge. There are some in thousands, some lakhs of rupees. These medicines have come up.
Yes.
Newer immunotherapy is going in a huge way. Like in lung cancer, I have never seen any patients in the first 10 years of 20 years of my practice, let's say, survive 6 months once diagnosed.
Okay.
If you are not operable.
Okay.
Today, advanced cancer of the lung,
Stage 3,
just
stage
with
4.
tablets, just stage 4, with tablets
I
only,
see.
and immunotherapy, they can survive for years and good quality of life. That means they can earn for their family. See what I mean good quality? You have to have your job going. You should live a happy life
Yes.
with the family, and you should earn also for the family.
Yes, I'm sure all our listeners who are listening in will take great hope from the advancements that have taken place.
And now the newer thing, the recent research is done that yoga and other, this meditation, if it's done with the radiation and all, it improves the life. Its quality of life as well as the overall survival.
Absolutely.
Tata Hospital just released that study. That means when you are doing the radiotherapy, before going for radiation, you do around meditation for half an hour, you do yogas, and we used to find that it was just diversion technique, but now we have said that actually it gives results. So that means every patient should give some sort of activity At least they should go for a walk, they should do some yoga, they should do some meditation. Be happy when you are doing treatment. See, your depression, your fighting power goes down. That negativity comes into. So your positivity is very important.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Doctor. We wish you all success and thank you for being here with us at All India Radio.
Thank you very much.
You just heard Dr. Shekhar Salkar in conversation with Alfie Silveira regarding the significance of World Cancer Day. Now, here's Alroy with brief information about the upcoming Science Day, which falls on the 28th of February.
Hello everyone. National Science Day is celebrated every year on February 28th to commemorate the discovery of the Raman effect. Nobel laureate and scientist C.V. Raman announced the discovery of the historic Raman effect on this date in 1928. It was this discovery that got Sir C.V. Raman a Nobel Prize in Physics in 1930. The National Council for Science and Technology Communications requested the then Government of India to designate 28th February as the National Science Day in 1986. It was accepted with a view to honor not just the achievements of Sir C.V. Raman, but also of other scientists for their achievements in the scientific field. Since then, National Science Day is celebrated all over India in schools, colleges, universities and other institutions. The very first National Science Day was celebrated on 28th of February 1987. National Council for Science and Technology Communications announced the creation of National Science Popularization Awards, which recognized individuals for their outstanding efforts in the area of science popularization and communication and in promoting scientific temper. Hence, the National Science Day is celebrated with a view to inspire and encourage youth to develop interest in science and also to spread the message about the significance of science and how it improves the daily lives of the common people. The theme this year for National Science Day is Global Science for Global Well-being. So, let's all develop a scientific approach to life.
Well, listeners, National Science Day is just around the corner, and we thought, what better than meeting a scientist? Here's Arina Vaz speaking to Dr. Rahul Mohan, scientist from National Centre for Polar and Ocean Research, situated in Goa.
Today, in conversation with Dr. Rahul Mohan, we try to understand India's interest in the polar regions. Welcome, Dr. Mohan, to All India Radio.
Thank you.
Why would you say, Dr. Mohan, that Indian scientists, have to travel thousands of kilometers to the polar regions? And what is the relevance of us in India doing studies of the polar regions?
Polar regions are like huge refrigerators of ice.
Yes.
On the either side of the planet. When you talk about these refrigerators, it's just snow and ice.
Yes.
So 99% is just ice. And the amount of land that is there is huge.
Okay.
So when we talk about Antarctica, it is a huge island surrounded by westward flowing waters and currents. Whereas when we talk about Arctic, it's an ocean. So Antarctica is a huge continent,
Yes.
wherein you can have 5 countries like India,
Wow.
plus some more islands.
Okay.
So it is that huge. So you can just imagine these huge ice refrigerators, if they start to change or if they start to misbehave, you would have problems on the climate system of the world.
Exactly.
That is why the Indian researchers, along with the world researchers, are very curious to know how the climate in Antarctica is changing.
Dr. Mohan, tell us some of the type of scientific work that our Indian scientists undertake at the Antarctic and polar regions.
The first team arrived in Antarctica on 9th of January 1982, and now we are setting up into the 42nd year of Antarctic expeditions. We have been able to launch on our own Indian expeditions to Antarctica, Arctic and the Southern Ocean, trying to decipher in the bigger umbrella the climate change scenario. So we are looking at ice cores from Antarctica. These gives you changes in climate for few hundred years.
Okay.
We are also looking at lake sediments from Antarctica. These changes would throw light into some thousands of years. And we are also looking at marine sediments that take you into millions of years. Why do we need to know the past climate?
Yes.
So the thing is, we know climate of few hundred years, or say 80 years to be precise, or 70 years to be precise. But if you want to pull back and like to know what were the warm periods or what were the cold periods, you need to go back into the past. And there is no time capsule except the things which are preserved as ice or as sediments. And try to look at those organisms which are like the cassette recorders or tape recorders of Earth's history.
I see.
Try to look into them under the microscope, sometimes looking at the chemistry, and try to develop and look into how the climate change must have happened. And try to see those phases of climate change where you would have similar conditions as today, where we are seeing a warming world.
Yes.
And that's a problem area. Was Antarctica always that warm or that cold? Antarctica was never this cold.
Yeah.
Antarctica also has coal seams. Coal seams are found or are formed only in hot and humid conditions. Antarctica has fossils of plants, leaves. So Antarctica has preserved fossils of frogs, all indicating that it was not that cold. So when did it happen? So all that is part of science. Was India connected to Antarctica? We know as geologists that it was connected. So we have now initiated a new program, GeoEIS, which looks into the East Antarctica and Eastern Ghat connection. And that's what we started a year back, but pandemic has delayed that project. The larger goal in the next 5 to 6 years would be to look at how and when India was connected to Antarctica and how did it move forward where it is in the current position.
With National Science Day is celebrated every year on 28th February. How can we and how can you and your team at NCPOR, create an awareness in the student community? Because they may just know about it, but how do they get into the details? Do you have some teams that go down to colleges and schools and talk to them about the research center that you'll do?
We do a lot of scientific social responsibility or outreach, as you may like to call it. It's all about taking science to the masses.
Correct.
And we do a lot of school lectures, both at the degree level as well at the +2 level, and also to some junior sections as well, because they have a lot of interest in Antarctica and penguins. And we encourage students to visit our institution as well, not only on Science Day, but throughout the year, just with a prior permission. So we show them films, we show them some labs, and we also sometimes make them interact with the scientists to understand. Because normally students feel that scientists are old, clumsy people with glasses and beard.
Yeah, that's a stereotype of the scientist.
So that we are trying to break that, and we have been quite successful, I would say. And
Dr. Mohan, thank you for making time in being with us this day, and we wish you and your team all the very best in your future expeditions and whatever else you have chalked up on your diary and your schedule and your calendar. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Dr. Rahul Mohan, scientist from National Centre for Polar and Ocean Research, Goa, talking to us about India's polar research successes. Friends, the journey through the February edition of National Science magazine, Radioscope, draws its curtains here. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Till we meet again, it's goodbye and good night from us all. You just heard National Science magazine, Radioscope. Script, Dr. Shubhrata Mishra. Narration, Monica Dias. Producer, Damodar Athalekar. This was a presentation by All India Radio, Panaji.
Radioscope, the National Science Magazine program.